Main event of the evening.
These days are
Hello and welcome to These Days Are Ours, a Happy Days podcast. I'm Peter.
And I'm Joe.
And today, we will be discussing Season 6, Episode 7, Sweet 16.
Okay, Peter, tell us what happens in Sweet 16.
We open with Richie and Potsy rehearsing at Arnold's. They're soon joined by a late Ralph, who brought along an instrument that's basically a drum on a stick.
I've got a boombox.
Neither Potsy nor Richie are impressed. Joanie and Marion show up. Joanie is having her Sweet 16 soon, and she's having the party at Arnold's, despite Marion suggesting that she have it at the ballroom of the Pfister Hotel instead. But Joanie says she's always hung out at Arnold's.
Mom, I grew up here at Arnold's.
And Marion agrees that young girls shouldn't hang out at hotels. Al comes out of the kitchen and greets Joanie and Marion in French.
Madame, mademoiselle.
He and Joanie already talked it over and settled on a gay Paris theme. Al even made an 8-foot ice carving of the Eiffel Tower. Marion points out the party isn't for 5 days, and Al goes to tell Clarence to clear out the refrigerator. Marion follows after him, once she hears that it'll cost $12 a person to have the party at Arnold's.
Alfred, now about this $12 a person.
Joanie tells Richie, Potsy, and Ralph about the theme of the party. An excited Ralph begins playing the can-can, causing everyone else to immediately clear out. Back at the Cunningham house, Marion is receiving out-of-town packages for Joanie from Howard's cousins, as Howard himself arrives home.
Remember last year when their Alice was confirmed, we sent them a very expensive gift.
Yes, Howard. But what is a little girl going to do with an electric drill?
Joanie herself is smooching Terrence Tip Corrigan, a quarterback from her school who tries to brown-nose Joanie's parents by mistaking Marion for Joanie's sister. Marion is not impressed, but Howard is delighted Joanie is dating a quarterback and invites him to stay for dinner.
Oh, I'd love to stay for dinner, Coach, but, well, you know how it is.
Tip can't, and after kissing Joanie goodbye, leaves. Joanie dreamily notes that every girl in the world wants Tip's Letterman sweater, and he gave it to her. The next day, Fonzie comes in wearing a pair of formal coveralls.
Now, I ask you, is this dazzling or is this dazzling?
He's receiving an honorary degree from the Homesteady School of Auto Repair. It's the same day as Joanie's party, but Marion insists that Joanie understands. She wishes Joanie could find a nice boy like Fonzie instead of Tip, who she hears all kinds of horrible stories about. She hears all kinds of stories about Fonzie, too.
I know they can't be true.
What?
The stories that I hear about you.
Mrs. C, I hope you have a wonderful day. Whoa.
Joanie is up in her room on the phone with Tip when Richie comes in. Joanie finishes her conversation and tells Richie the good news. She's in love.
You're the first to know.
Sure, she's heard the stories about Tip, but he told her himself that that's all over now. Joanie's the only girl he's ever really cared about, and she's special to him, and he calls her Rosebud.
Rosebud.
Richie tells her she's going to meet a lot of Tips before she finds the right one, so don't fall too hard. And if she needs anyone to talk to, he's always there. The next day, Joanie arrives at Arnold's to see Tip giving another girl the same spiel he gave her, and giving her a Letterman sweater. Joanie tells him everyone was right about him, returns the sweater he gave her, and when he tries to smooch his way back into her good graces, stomps on his foot. He limps away with what's left of his pride. Al joins a saddened Joanie at her table, and she asks if he ever heard of anyone who didn't have a date to their own Sweet 16.
Yeah.
The day of the party, Fonzie gives Joanie her present, a sachet that will make her clothes smell like rosebuds. At the mention of rosebuds, Joanie is sad, and she admits to Fonzie that she broke up with her boyfriend and doesn't have a date to her Sweet 16. Fonzie says he knows a guy who would be happy to take her. Joanie catches on, but says she can't let Fonzie take her because he feels sorry for her. Fonzie insists he'd be proud to have her on his arm. Joanie says that Howard and Richie both asked her too, and she thinks Fonzie should go and pick up his degree. She's mature enough to handle this.
I may not be happy, but honestly, I'll handle it.
Fonzie says that's the nicest turn down he ever got. In fact, it's the only turn down he ever got. The night of the party, Joanie comes downstairs in a flowy white dress, wowing her family, and declares that she's not going to the party. Her own mother had to get her a date, a boy named Burton Fitch. At that moment, the doorbell starts ringing and doesn't stop. Richie answers the door to find Burton trying to get the doorbell unstuck.
Hi, doorbell's stuck. Got a screwdriver?
Burton calls Richie Dickie, and when he tries to give Joanie a box of candy, accidentally drops it. Then he accidentally breaks Howard's camera.
I guess I pushed the wrong button.
Yeah.
At Arnold's, the band performs Happy Birthday Sweet 16. Afterwards, Burton takes Joanie aside and admits this isn't working. He doesn't know anyone here, and he messed up the whole evening, and Joanie's having fun without him anyway. Then Tip shows up, grabs Joanie from behind, and tells her he's decided to give her another chance. Joanie threatens to bite him.
I'm warning you, Tip. I bite.
Richie, Ralph, and Potsy are all ready to back Joanie up, but it's Burton who gets rid of the creep by twisting Tip's arm behind his back and pushing him out of the building. Joanie tells Burton to stay, because the next dance will be for him, then dances with Howard.
Put your head on my shoulder.
After the party, Howard and Marion visit Joanie in her room to give her their present, a string of pearls. Then Joanie gets a call from Jenny Piccolo, and her parents leave so she can give Jenny the details of the evening.
They got me pearls.
Thank you so much, Peter. That was Sweet 16, which first aired back on October 17th, 1978. That night, Happy Days was the lead-in to a new episode of Laverne and Shirley, in which the girls decide to attend night school, but Laverne struggles with a tough teacher. CBS had a new episode of The Paper Chase, in which our hero, James Hart, dates the daughter of a mob lawyer. And NBC was airing Game 6 of the World Series between the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers. This would prove to be the deciding game, with the Yankees triumphant.
Popped up. Munson. This could be it. He's got room. He's waiting. The Yankee bench on the field. Yankees are the champions.
So, Peter, of those choices, what are you watching?
The mob lawyer sounds intriguing.
I'm glad that I'm selling you on The Paper Chase week by week.
You're winning me over.
I might watch The Paper Chase. In my household, we would have definitely been watching the World Series, the Yankees-Dodgers game. Sweet 16 was directed by Jerry Paris, and it was written by Brian Levant, the future director of both A Christmas Story 2 and Problem Child 2.
Scene 2. Problem Child 2.
We can't even figure out what they did to that dog.
The most recent of Brian's episodes that we covered was Second Wind. We have a couple of guest stars this week. Let's start with Dan Spector as Burton Fitch. This was Dan's first major role on TV. He'll return to Happy Days in Season 8 as a different character. His other credits include Facts of Life, Different Strokes, Divorce Court, Lou Grant, and Beverly Hills 90210. In recent years, you might have seen him in the TV movie Hackers. So, Peter, what did you think of Dan Spector as Burton Fitch?
He did a very good job at playing the sort of white Urkel figure.
Did I do that?
But I did like that he wasn't too exaggeratedly nerdy. He's just very, very awkward, but they didn't give him giant glasses or spenders or a Jerry Lewis voice.
Stop putting words in my mouth. I won't say that.
You won't say what?
I'll punch you in the nose. Oh, I said it.
Why, you?
And I like that he did get to be somewhat competent when he got rid of Tip. Part of me kind of would have liked it if Joanie got rid of Tip, but at the same time, she shouldn't have to get rid of the creep who crashed her party. That's not her obligation. It's Tip's obligation to not be a creep. So in conclusion, I liked Burton Fitch, and I liked his actor. I thought he did a good job.
I thought Dan Spector did a good job as Burton Fitch as well, and I think it was refreshing, as you pointed out, that the writers didn't try to make Burton too much of a cartoonish super nerd. We didn't get a full Melvin Belvin here, which is fortunate.
We will come to Melvin Belvin in the future.
The one thing that I will say about Burton Fitch is that I didn't quite believe it at the very end that Joanie would call him a hunk.
What a hunk.
Yeah, that was a weird choice. He's not a bad-looking guy, but hunk is not a term I would apply to him.
We also have Ray Underwood as Terrence Tip Corrigan, an actor from Colorado. Ray had previously appeared in the cult classic Massacre at Central High.
These your wheels?
Yeah.
I like it. It's funky.
He's now at least the third Happy Days actor to appear in the 1978 Carrie ripoff Jennifer. Ray's other credits include Cheers, 8 is Enough, Starsky and Hutch, The Paper Chase, and Chips. Sadly, Ray died in 1993. What on earth did you think of Ray Underwood as Terrence Tip Corrigan?
Oh, he is perfect in this episode. From the beginning, he is sleazy and manipulative, and he just gets better / worse throughout the episode. Something about the way he uses his voice.
Your pop's got some sense of humor.
I don't know quite how to describe it, but man, he is just eminently punchable. Excellent job, Ray Underwood.
Ray Underwood is so good in this episode. He is so great at playing these preppy, condescending jerks. This is the kind of part that James Spader used to play in the 1980s.
Nobody appreciates your sense of humor, you know. As a matter of fact, everybody's just about to puke from you. You know, if you got a hard-on for trash, don't take care of it around us, pal, all right?
They're thankless roles, but someone's got to play them.
As for songs this week, Anson Williams sings something called Stop, Look, and Listen, while Richie plays an unrelated sax solo.
Stop, look, and listen.
Many artists have recorded songs with this title, including Elvis Presley, Bill Haley, Patsy Cline, Tommy Dorsey, Donna Summer, The Stylistics, and Josie and the Pussycats. None of them sound like what Potsy is singing, though. Ralph Malph claims he is performing the song Stardust.
That was terrible. You never did like Stardust anyway.
This is a pop standard composed in 1927 by Hoagie Carmichael. It's been recorded over 1,500 times. I wouldn't count this as one of them because Ralph is just making noise. Anson Williams sings Happy Birthday Sweet 16 by Neil Sedaka. This is the exact same song he performed in Rules to Date by. And Anson also sings Put Your Head on My Shoulder by Paul Anka. Anson also sang the song to Joanie in They Call It Potsy Love. As for cultural and historical references of the week, Potsy sarcastically compares Richie to Boots Randolph.
And you think you're Boots Randolph.
Homer Lewis Boots Randolph III was a sax player from Kentucky who eventually migrated to Tennessee.
Well, he was a sax man from the state of Tennessee.
And became a prominent Nashville session musician for 40 years, playing both live and on record with a wide variety of artists, including Elvis Presley, Roy Orbison, and Jerry Lee Lewis. But Boots had a few hits of his own, most famously Yakety Sax from 1963. I don't know if people know that one by name or if they just know it as the music that you use when people are running away from stuff.
The Benny Hill Chase theme, yeah.
We get another reference to the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee. It's the city's only 4-star hotel. It opened in 1893 and is still going. It's named for the original owners, Guido Pfister and his son Charles.
We are very happy that is the name.
Referring to Paris as Gay Paris is a tradition that goes back to the 1700s, but the term is most associated with the so-called Belle Epoque of the late 1800s and early 1900s before the First World War. This was a time when Paris was at the forefront of literature, music, theater, and art, and had a very vibrant nightlife. Did you ever go through any kind of phase where you were obsessed with that era of Paris?
Kind of, but not really. I'm part French on my dad's side, so I guess when I was little, I had this fascination with French culture. I kind of grew out of it as I got older and realized that the French kind of suck with all the colonialism and imperialism they did.
I just finished an 8-foot ice carving of the Eiffel Tower.
Ice carvings of the Eiffel Tower are surprisingly common decorations at weddings and parties, including Sweet 16s. 8 feet seems a bit excessive, though, based on the ones I've seen. The actual
bigger than Joanie.
The actual tower stands over 1,000 feet tall and took 2 years to build. It was finally completed in 1889 during the aforementioned Belle Epoque. What I was wondering was this: if Al made an 8-foot Eiffel Tower out of ice and then put it in the freezer, he must have had to take the food out of the freezer to create that much room.
Yeah. I guess that's why Howard said that Al's hamburger at the end wasn't very good.
Joanie says that the cost per person for her party would be $12. That's over $100 in today's money. Marion gets it down to $1.19, which today amounts to about $10 a person. And I think that is much more reasonable considering what Al is offering. Fonzie says that only he and Bob Hope got awards from the Home Study School of Auto Repair due to his extensive charity work and performances with the USO. Hope received thousands of awards during his lifetime, including a few dozen honorary doctorates from universities. On her dresser, Joanie has what looks to be a framed photograph of Bobby Darin. On the opposite side of the room are posters of Elvis Presley. Bobby Darin is wearing a tuxedo, so this picture was taken after he had expanded his career beyond rock and roll to more sophisticated pop jazz fare like Mac the Knife.
Sometime between Queen of the Hop and Dream Lover, I went in to record my first album. It was called That's All, and one of the things in the album was a song that changed my entire life.
One photo of Elvis has his hair slightly mussed and his shirt collar unbuttoned, but the other one has him wearing a suit and tie with his hair neatly combed back. So it's like the two different eras of Elvis.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I have your attention, please? I'd like to tell you that we're going to do a sad song for you. This song here is one of the saddest songs we've ever heard.
Richie says that he is too old for a record called Toot Toot Tootle the Tugboat. I couldn't find anything with that name or even close. It's possible that Richie is referring to Little Toot, a 1939 children's book about a tugboat that was adapted to animation by Walt Disney in 1948 with music by the Andrews Sisters.
Oh.
Yeah, Capitol Records put out a single of the Little Toot song from the Disney movie, and it became the first children's record to sell 1 million copies.
Little Toot was just a tug, just a happy harbor tug, and it came from a line of tugboats fine and brave.
I will admit I was totally unfamiliar with the term sachet, spelled S-A-C-H-E-T.
Oh, it's a sachet.
It means a small scented cloth bag filled with herbs, potpourri, or perfume powder. A sachet is used to scent clothes or linen. The word actually comes from Old French for bag.
I was also unfamiliar with the term sachet, so do not feel bad. I was really confused because I thought they meant sachet like the movement.
Sachet, sachet.
At Joanie's party, we see a lot of posters by Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, the artist most closely associated with the theatrical world and decadent nightlife of Paris in the late 1800s. One advertises the Divan Japonais, a café chantant from 1894. Another from 1892 advertises cabaret singer Aristide Bruant, who was a friend of the artist. A poster from 1893 advertises Jeanne Avril, the can-can dancer, in her performance at the Jardin de Paris. Toulouse-Lautrec was kind of Mr. Belle Epoque. He was painting all these artists and dancers of the time.
And all I really know about him is that he was John Leguizamo in Moulin Rouge.
But not all the art is by Toulouse-Lautrec. There's one poster advertising the Moulin de la Galette, a combination mill and restaurant in Paris. This is actually by another artist, Auguste Rodel, who lived during the same era as Toulouse-Lautrec. Yet another poster advertises the Salon des Cents, a commercial art exhibition in Paris that ran from 1894 to 1900. The posters advertising the salon became as famous as the exhibition itself. The one that we see is by Georges Dufour. And around the room there are little signs shaped like painter's palettes with phrases printed on them. One says Moulin Rouge. The Moulin Rouge is a world-famous cabaret in Paris, originally founded in 1889. Known as the birthplace of the can-can, the original Moulin Rouge burned down in 1915. It was rebuilt and reopened in 1921. It continues today as a tourist attraction, and it's still recognizable by the red windmill on the roof. In fact, that's what Moulin Rouge means. Another sign says Folie Bergère. This is another cabaret music hall in Paris. It opened in 1869 and is still going.
And now the country's gone kablooey, so we are giving you the air. That ought to teach you not to spend all your time fooling around at the Folie Bergère.
The hall gained a scandalous reputation for its reviews featuring scantily clad women. In the 1920s, Josephine Baker performed at the Folie Bergère wearing only bananas. Another poster at the party depicts Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Specifically, we see the two towers on the west facade. Before the Eiffel Tower, these were the tallest structures in Paris. The cathedral's construction began in 1163 and took about a century to complete. It has endured numerous calamities over the years, including a fire in 2019. It's scheduled to reopen in 2024. Marion calls Al the Picasso of hamburgers. Painter Pablo Picasso was originally born in Malaga, Spain in 1881, but he spent most of his life and career in France, so I guess he's an honorary Frenchman.
It's Picasso, you idiot. Pick your own asshole. Asshole. Picasso.
And my favorite cultural or historical reference of the evening happens right at the end of the episode. On her bedroom door, Joanie has a print of Nude Descending a Staircase No. 2 by Marcel Duchamp, painted in 1912, right at the end of the Belle Epoque. It's one of the most controversial and influential paintings of the early 20th century. So I thought that was good taste on Joanie's part to have that up.
Yeah.
Other observations. I don't know quite how to feel about that gold chain that Ralph is sporting around his neck in the opening scene.
That feels a little anachronistic. Would that have been popular in the whenever this is taking?
No, I don't think so. But you know how a couple of episodes ago we saw that Donnie Most was like super cut?
Oh, you think this is pandering to all the Donnie Most fans in the audience?
Yeah, I think he wants to show he's super cut and he has a gold chain. Like, I play Ralph Malph, but I'm not Ralph Malph in real life, ladies. So I'm free after the taping.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ladies, make no mistake, I will lay the pipe into you. You're not...
Joanie says that she's always hung out at Arnold's and that she grew up there. But you remember last season when Richie and Potsy didn't even feel comfortable walking in until they were high schoolers, and then they get bullied within like the first minute? So is she super comfortable at Arnold's, or is Arnold's this tough place where you have to be tough to even go in?
Joanie is significantly tougher than Richie, so...
I think that's it. I think Joanie would be comfortable there. Joanie is comfortable wherever she goes, and I don't think that's true with Richie.
It's extremely not true with Richie.
Now, in the later seasons of Happy Days, Fonz mangles a lot of words in the tradition of Archie Bunker. He's always doing these malaprops in the later years. We get a hint of that this week when he fails to pronounce the word prestigious.
Prestige, important place, you know.
That becomes a weird habit that he acquires over the series. He doesn't do that in the first season. So.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
And apparently Richie does not remember when Joanie had that crush on Potsy.
Goodbye, super hunk.
Are you talking to Potsy?
Okay, this is a question that the next episode of Happy Days may answer. Is Inspiration Point on a cliff? The place is supposed to have an inspiring view, hence the name, but do we ever see what that view looks like from the kids' perspective?
I don't think so, but I'm willing to bet that if someone can jump off of it, as Joanie instructs Tip to do, then there must be some kind of overlook.
How do they know Bert and Fitch? At first I thought Richie knew him from somewhere, but they're obviously not friends.
He mentions during the party that their mothers set up the date with Joanie, so I'm willing to bet that if Mrs. Fitch is Marion's friend, then he's just their mother's friend's son.
That makes some sense to me. And it really bothers me that they don't pick up that candy immediately off the floor.
It's gonna melt and stain the carpet!
The only silver lining here is that the Cunninghams' living room has the ugliest carpet I've ever seen. It is this cute green color. It is awful looking.
I also really hated the joke that Marion made about Howard being on a diet.
Howard, you're on a diet.
Marion, he's not going to eat chocolate off the floor. He's not a dog.
It's nice to see Daphne back as the drummer in the band, even if she's only ever referred to as the drummer and not by her name. Daphne kind of exists and doesn't exist.
She's Schrodinger's drummer.
I suppose Jenny Piccolo was grounded for smoking in the boys' room.
Smoking in the boys' room. Smoking in the boys' room.
And was therefore not allowed to attend the party. Otherwise, she would have been there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, Peter, what were the outstanding Happy Days fashions of the week?
I really love the dress Joanie wore to the party. She's wearing this really pretty kind of flowy white dress with the full skirt that was popular in mid-century America. It's got straps, and she's got this little shawl that she wears over it that's also really pretty. She looks like a cloud fairy or something. I also really liked the theme outfits that everyone was wearing at the party. I loved the cartoon Frenchman outfits that the band was wearing. They were wearing the striped shirts and scarves and berets that you wear if you're a Frenchman in a cartoon.
They love my stripy shirt and my stupid beret. And when I'm sipping on a Perrier in some cafe down in Saint-Tropez, it's hard to keep the fans at bay. They say, sign my poodle, s'il vous plaît.
They even got pencil mustaches drawn on, and Al is dressed like a cartoon painter. I appreciate that everyone really went whole hog for it.
So, Peter, I will ask that age-old timeless question. Was this episode any good?
Yeah, this was a very fun episode after 3 straight weeks of bummers. I did think it was a pretty enjoyable Joanie-centric episode. I liked that she got to be vulnerable, but at the same time be her usual Spitfire self. I really liked the cartoon Frenchman looks. Those were great. And I thought it was very sweet that everyone wanted Joanie to have a nice 16th birthday party, and they all did their best to help her. That was nice.
Peter, I am telling you, this episode was like an oasis in the desert for me. After 3 weeks of miserable stories on Happy Days, this, to me, was what Happy Days should be doing. It's a light episode. It's fun. There's some good jokes in it. It's a sweet little story about Joanie having a nice party and everybody trying to make it a nice party for her. It's a good showcase for Aaron Moran. There's some good music in it. This is what I want Happy Days to be, basically, in Season 6. Again, this is not really an emotionally deep episode, but it's just a nice little observational story about a girl having this party that seems very important to her at the time. And I think Aaron is great at expressing the enthusiasm that only a teenager could bring to something like this. Sweet 16 was really the first episode that I've enjoyed since the Westward Ho 3-parter ended. And I was very, very grateful to have it. And I might be even overpraising it because it comes on the heels of, Fonzie going blind and Richie cheating on Lori Beth and oh God, every other calamity. I don't want to oversell Sweet 16. It's kind of a trifle of an episode.
But you know what? Trifles are nice. Sometimes you want a full course meal and sometimes you want some cotton candy.
Exactly. So, Peter, how can people keep up with us and find out about all the things that we are doing?
Listeners can follow us on Twitter at Fonzie Podcast. They can follow me on Twitter at Peter Volfranc. That's PeterVulfranc.
And they can follow me on Twitter at Joe_A_Blevins. They can find this podcast online at thesedaysaroours.libsyn.com. And they can email us with questions, comments, and concerns at thesedaysaroourspodcast@gmail.com. So, Peter, what do we have on the docket for next week?
Next week, Ralph Mouth becomes magically not cowardly anymore in Fearless Mouth.
I can hardly wait. So, see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
Va donc causer dans ta chose avant de se mettre au vieux. J'apprends la géographie, la Chine et la Manchurie, les frontières, les rivières, le fleuve jaune et le fleuve bleu. Y a même l'amour, c'est curieux, car rose l'empire du milieu. C'est moi qui suis sa petite, son ananas, son ananas, son anamite. Je suis vive, je suis charmante, comme ma petite oiseau qui chante. Il m'appelle sa petite bourgeoise, Satan quéquinoise. Dans le prairie font les 12 yeux, mais c'est moi qui l'aime le mieux.
Goodbye, super hunk.